I'm older, but I'm not old. Gosh, you think about the power of language and how much difference a word can make. And I read something the other day that said, I'm 75, and it said the elderly man who was 61 years old got hit in the crosswalk or something like that. Oh, now it's how the language we use. It's elderly. So I was thinking about how my parents did or did not prepare me for growing old or going along in life, and some of the things that they could have said. One of the things that would have been nice is if they'd said how fast life goes by, and please understand that, try to be so present. And later on in life, I found out a lot more about meditation and things that keep you really present to today and not worrying about tomorrow and just focusing on today, the blessing it is for you and so forth. But I think another thing, I think back on some of the bad decisions I made, and I think I would have liked it if somebody said, look, you're going to make a lot of bad decisions in your life. Bounce back from them. It's not the end of the world. You will make it back through this as well. Because I look back and, oh my Lord, I made some horrid decisions. In fact, I used to think if I ever wrote an autobiography, the title would be, What Were You Thinking? Because clearly you weren't. But it's so important because life is this big roller coaster. And that's what I've learned at 75 years old versus looking back at 35 or 15 or some of those other ages. It's an entirely huge, big up and down, left and right, and so forth. And gosh, when you're up, everything's great. People return your phone calls. You got lots of friends. But when you're down, gosh, nobody gets back to you. You feel like the loneliest person on the earth, but know that you will get back again. And maybe the most important thing of all is most of the lessons you learn in your life is when you're on the down stuff. A lot of this stuff that happened to me, my parents died when I was pretty young in my 20s. My mom died of cancer. She used to be threatened suicide, sometimes had some mental health issues. My dad took his own life when before I was 30. My wife passed away when my sons were 4 and 14. And as horrific and as tough as those things were, they taught me some of the best lessons in life that you can bounce back from anything if you just put one foot in front of the other. So, so important. And they say that youth is wasted on the young, but gosh, we learn these lessons. And it's if you just remember that every day will get better, it just don't focus on just this hour. Just think about it'll get better tomorrow and the next day and so forth. And when I was about 25 years old, I asked this question. That was 50 years ago. And it's the same question I've had for 50 years. Why don't people take better care of themselves? I've never got it. You got one body, one heart, two lungs, two kidneys, one brain, and yet we abuse the heck out of them. And sometimes I've thought to myself, just imagine if you could interview the organs. You interview the organs of a smoker and they put the microphone up to the lungs. They go, look, we're choking down here. We're doing the best we can, but you're putting all this smoke in here, and I'm trying to get the blood back into the oxygen back into the blood, and you're putting all this smoke in here, or the kidneys or the liver of a drinker. Why are you putting all this booze in here? I'm trying to process the blood here. So it makes me wonder, but what are some of the keys to staying young? And at 75, the energy, I feel like I'm going to have the energy of a 45 or 50-year-old. One of them you hear a lot about is exercise. I read something the other day that exercise is the closest thing to the fountain of youth that we have. I walk 7 to 8 miles every single day, and it's so important. I listen to podcasts and audible books and things like this, but it really, really makes a difference. But I think maybe something that's as important as anything that I could tell you about getting older, but not old, is you decide, you choose your attitude. Nobody rewires your brain and takes the red wire and puts it where the blue wire is. Every day you get out of the bed on the left side or the right side, positive or negative, up or down, grateful or ungrateful, whatever it might be. But you get to decide. It's so important. And you make that choice every single day. So, and watch your language too. You got two ears and one mouth. So your mouth talks and your ears hear it. And that's why when people say, well, you're old. And I go, no, I'm not old. I'm older. There's a huge difference. And watch this self-talk about I'm terrible with this. I don't have a good memory. And you say that your ears hear it, your brain processes it, and sure enough, you will not have a good memory. So very, very important too. But I think also, again, I look back on the 75 years, I don't really think about it too much until I walk by something called a mirror. Because when your eyes are looking out and you don't see yourself, you just see the world, you forget sometimes you're that age. And I know this especially with the opposite sex. I saw somebody say a sign, something like, when did I become invisible? I used to get people checking me out once in a while, not anymore, and not very often. And so you remember that when you see that mirror, oh, that's right, I am that age. So anyway, but let me wrap up with this question I'd like you to think about, and that is what do you know now you would have liked to know at 18 that would have helped you? because it can give you the direction on things. You've got all this wisdom now. So whatever age you are and everything you've learned, think about what are some of those things and then work towards that. I think one of the biggest things for me is that I didn't realize how tough life was going to be, but it also made me learn how to process problems and issues and challenges and hurdles I had to overcome. And thinking about more than anything, as I look back on my life, there was just many things I got through. Going through them at the time, brutal. But man, if you just process it and just one day at a time, you hear that many, many times. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time and so forth. But just one step after another. As you know, I'm a big proponent of the gratitude journal. That makes a big difference. But you can learn from those mistakes. You can learn from those boneheaded moves, and then you'll apply that to the future. And I still make mistakes. I don't make nearly as many mistakes as I did when I was younger. So that's something to think about. So think about that. What do you know today you would have liked to know at 18 that would have helped you? Think about that. I'm that gratitude guy. Remember, be grateful and never quit.